Welcome back to the Taste of Sport YouTube channel. This is going to be me looking so far at how the Patriots offseason has gone with the first week or two of free agency after going in the books. I will start off saying, kind of before I get into it later on, that this is, no matter what moves we kind of make later, what moves we have made so far, this does look like kind of a loss, an L, I guess as the kids would say it, of an offseason for the Patriots, because they didn't go out and get a number one wide receiver. They did make some good picks. They didn't get a number one wide receiver or a number one offensive tackle, which was kind of just decides what you're going to do in the draft, which is obvious. But being a number 14 pick, it is a somewhat premier pick. Like, you're kind of at the edge where you just about get the guys who are worth the first round pick and who can actually make immediate impacts on your team straight away. Around that pick, Patriots didn't make the move for DeAndre Hopkins so far as of today, which I think is the 24th of March. They've not made moves, but going to start off this video now and get into that later on, why that not making that move for DeAndre Hopkins or Jerry Jeudy or something like that, or T. Higgins, which I was going to make a whole video about that, but that got debunked very quickly that they're even interested in him. I'm going to start off by looking, guys, who we've lost so far, and probably all we're going to lose. Like, we obviously lost Jacoby Myers, our number one wide receiver for the last 3, maybe 4 years. He's gone to the Raiders, which it hurts because the offer he got, we gave us a different wide receiver. Technically, we lost Damian Harris most recently to the Bills. That one hurts me the most, being that he was probably one of my favorite running backs we've ever had. Looking back there, you have the Lawrence Maroney up there. Next, we lost Devin McCourty, obviously to retirement, which doesn't really count, but still losing one of the best safeties over the past decade is a massive loss. He was pretty much the last captain left. I think maybe Slater, last captain left from the dynasty. I guess Slater was special teams captain. But one of the biggest playmakers, we lost Jonnu Smith. Not really lost, we traded away Jonnu Smith to the Falcons for a pick. I think it ended up being a 6, I can't remember now. We lost Brian Hoyer, we've cut, but usually we cut Brian Hoyer and bring him back anyway. Jake Bailey we released obviously also our punter for the last few years, who kind of went down last year. And then as of now, unsigned, we have Nelson Aguilar still unsigned. I don't want us bringing him back. I don't think we bring him back. We had to kind of cut our ties with the amount of money we invested in him. And even at the time when we did, in that free agency frenzy of 2021, I think, where we spent all that money, it didn't look great at the time, but you kind of thought, oh, look, at least we're spending money, and I guess that's the price you're paying for wide receivers. So he's gone. Isaiah Wynn is currently unsigned by us and is the free agent. I really doubt we bring Isaiah Wynn back. We signed Riley Reef, which we'll get into later on. So he's probably going to take over right tackle as a starter, unless we get someone in the draft. I doubt we're going to have a starter at right tackle in the draft this year. And Jawan Williams, cornerback, not a big loss, got a bit of depth. I think we might end up bringing him back, same way we brought Jalen Mills back. But we get into that. So biggest losses, obviously, Jacoby Myers, Damian Harris, Jonnu Smith to a degree, but you can't really say that because people say he's a scheme. He has to be schemed in to the offense as a tight end to actually make big plays and be worth the money we were paying him, which he never was while he was here. So getting that money off the books now, we do pay him. So I think we do pay him a good bit this year, but I think we have an 18 million free cap next year or something like that. So it does seem like next year is going to be a bigger play than this year was. Now, we did make some good moves. Now, going, like I said, the loss wise, I'm not too hurt. Devin McCourty does hurt. He did you saw the age of beating him last year, but I'm not going to talk down on one of the greatest we've ever had. I'm not going to do that. I hope he enjoys retirement. We'll miss him no matter what. So what his presence and everything. Also, if I'm looking above, usually I'm looking to the left, I'm looking above this time. It's because my notes are above the camera this time. I'm going to look next at who we resigned, because we signed a lot of guys. We got Jonathan Jones, cornerback, for 2 years, 19 million. Jabril Peppers, which I really like, a safety, for 2 years, 9 million. Then we had a run on linebackers, why can't I say his name? Raekwon McMillan, we resigned. Mac Wilson. What are linebackers we signed? We brought in Chris Board, that's a free agent. Long snapper Joe Cordona, defensive tackle Carl Davis, defensive tackle Daniel Aquale, who I do really like. Aquale I do actually really like. I think he's he's not an every down defensive tackle, but he brings in depth. He's a good pass rusher. We brought back offensive tackle Johnny Kajust. That's just for depth. We brought back Miles Bryant, who was arguably by far, honestly, our worst quarterback last year. The amount of times he got burned, not even in the sense of kind of like, say, Jack Jones got burned a little bit as a rookie, but still had that playmaking ability. He didn't have, Miles Bryant doesn't have that. We brought back offensive tackle Conor McDermott, who came in a few games last year, did okay, Not a starting tackle, but definitely brings depth. Obviously, we brought back Matthew Slater for 2 years. Oh, 1 year, sorry, I thought it was 2 years. We brought back centre James Ferrens, again, another one who's going to be a depth piece at offensive tackle. I said offensive tackle, I meant centre. Then we brought back safety Cody Davis. That was most recent, I think, yesterday or today even. And we brought back, we cut and then brought back Jalen Mills, who on a 1 year deal, which I like. He was injured last year, a lot of last year. So bringing him back is kind of for how cheap he was, he's only 6 million. I think it's worth it in the sense that, like everyone's saying, we've lost Devin McCourty. So now you're kind of like, Kyle Duggar wasn't really a true safety last season, but Kyle Duggar I love. I think you can build on that a lot. Joshua Bledsoe was injured last year and kind of was in and out of the team as well. Then Adrian Phillips is a decent safety, but he's not good. He's not a guy you, like, on the back end of a defense like this, we have such a good front seven. You need better than Adrian Phillips back there. So that's why Jalen McMillan's apparently is bringing back to be played at safety, which I don't mind. Again, a bit of veteran presence. He's been around a while, especially in a cornerback room that is now pretty slim. Like, I'm wearing a JC Jackson jersey. We haven't gotten, like, Jonathan Jones we brought back. Jalen Mills now is going to go between cornerback and safety, unless we go for like a Brian Branch in the first round of draft. I wouldn't really want us to go there. I think we can survive on the back end to a degree, because like, no matter, like everyone says, no matter what you think of Devin McCourty, you kind of give the cornerbacks over his whole career. Like Stephon Gilmore said it, that he gives you that trust of, like, even if you get burned a little bit, he's going to be there to pick up your slack and at least not let the other team break off a big play. That wasn't really there last year, but still, I imagine he helped Kyle Duggar come on as much as he did last season. Next, the new guys we brought in. My favourite one is probably this one. We brought in Mike Gesicki, the tight end from Miami, for 1 year. I love it because he's athletic. He is a game breaker in that sense. When I get similar to a degree in a Jonnu Smith, but I think you learn from the Jonnu Smith contract where they've given Mike Gesicki a 1 year deal. I think it's a base of 4.5, maybe a max of like 9 or something like that. Worth the risk. He's a playmaker with the ball in his hands. If as long as you scheme into it, which I do trust Bill O'Brien to do more than the likes of I don't, do I want to say his name? Matt Patricia. I'm trying to get rid of that last season out of my head completely. So I do really like that. James Robinson, then we brought in on a 2 year deal of 8 million for chips. A decent back of the rotation pick. We've probably got to a lot more runs, but I think we brought in James Robinson more so that I think he's a good running back, but his injury that he got, he's kind of slowly not really getting back to where he was with the Jags a few years ago. But he's kind of a guy that, unlike a Damian Harris, who I think was demanding runs because he's such a quality back, he's pretty much an every down back, and out on the pass, he's not great in the passing game. But I think that stops, I'll try to get my point here, James Robinson takes less touches away from Ramondre Stevens, who is our running back one of the best backs in the league now going forward. Takes away from him, gives you a chance to probably bring in Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong into it more so. So I think it's a good depth piece. He is good. He is decent in the passing game, so that takes it out of, you're not dumping it to Ramondre Stevenson every play. So that let him focus more so on the run game, which is what you wanted to be doing. As I mentioned earlier, we brought in offensive tackle Roddy Reef on a 1 year deal. A lot of these are didn't sign anyone to more than a 3 year deal, which does show that this isn't the plan going forward. It's worrying to a degree, but you just have to see, I guess you have to see what they're going to do with Bill O'Brien. You brought in Roddy Reef, which he's a 34, 35 roll offensive tackle. He's a decent starter. He's not what you want for developing a Mac Jones, a young quarterback like that. They are going to get past him. He's not the quickest anymore, but he's okay. I guess he's going to be better than Isaiah Wynn. He may not be. You just have to. It's kind of a flyer on him because 1 year deal. He might be worth it, might not be worth it. Either way, it's a low risk one. Next, we brought in swing tackle Calvin Anderson, who people seem to be liking his potential a bit more. He's on a 2 year deal. People seem to think that he might be able to be utilising the offense more so and might actually have a higher ceiling. Bringing in, in fact, we brought in Clem as a new offensive line coach. Maybe he can develop a Calvin Anderson. We'll see. Then our big wide receiver acquisition was Juju Smith-Schuster on a 3 year, $25 million deal worth $33 million in incentives, which is pretty much what Jacoby Myers got. Now, I've come around a lot more on Juju. I didn't like his attitude while in Pittsburgh. I don't personally hate the Pittsburgh Steelers more. I do hate the Pittsburgh, there's an S there, Steelers more than any other team in the NFL. So it took me a few days to get into it. He does have an upside. He is a good wide receiver. I think he's a bit overrated from what he was. He's definitely not the wide receiver one that the Steelers thought they were getting when he was with Antonio Brown that time. But he is a good piece. He does add to the wide receiver room with him, Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, Tyquan Thornton. It's a decent wide receiver room. But again, you didn't get a wide receiver one. He's a slot guy, so that kind of takes you you're kind of relying then again on Devontae Parker on the outside, who it can be good, but he's not the kind of receiver Mac needs. Mac needs a playmaker. Mac needs a guy who's going to get open every play, or even when he's not open, you can get him the ball. So like it's a good move, but it's not the move. And they brought in linebacker Chris Board, who again a depth piece with linebacker room that needed it. It's a good off season. Like they re-signed a lot of guys, which everyone kind of knew they were going to do. A lot of their cap space got taken up with bringing these guys in. They let key guys like Jacoby Myers, who like people said he's kind of similar to Juju Smith-Schuster. They're both slot guys. Juju's a bit bigger. Juju's got a bit more upside in the fact he's a bit more of a playmaker on the ball afterwards. Even though last season, I guess it's the Chiefs, so you don't know the Travis Kelce is the Chiefs, so you can't really take his touchdown numbers into account there versus what Jacoby's was. Jacoby has his best season by far of his career last season, so he got paid. He deserved what he got paid. So it's interesting, but like I said earlier, it is an L of an off season just because it's not over yet. You still didn't get DeAndre Hopkins. You still didn't get a Mike Evans. Say you didn't get a T. Higgins. You didn't get a Jerry Jeudy. You're definitely not getting Jerry Jeudy now. You don't need another stock guy in this room. You're not probably going to draft a Jackson Smith-Njigba in the draft because he is a slot guy as well, pretty much solely. So like, it's an okay offseason. It's a good offseason, but if it ends with not getting a wide receiver one, then Mac's going to struggle unless... No, he is going to struggle. I think Mac will struggle unless Bill O'Brien brings a complete new offense in his first year and makes it all click, which he could. I do have hopes. I do have high hopes for this team and this offense with that, but it's still, the draft's going to determine a lot. The draft, and if they do end up getting a wide receiver, is going to matter a lot to me. I can't get a final conclusion yet because, like I said, it's early-ish. The main weeks of free agency are over, but you can still make moves. You can still draft guys. All the offensive tackles that you could have gotten are off the board. The Orlando Browns, all these kind of guys are all gone. So your offensive line isn't better. It isn't worse, but it needed to get better for Mac, you saw last year. And your wide receiver room didn't get better. It didn't get worse. It's still the same pretty much unless Tyquan takes a step forward. So I don't love it. I don't hate it. But it's a lot of money being spent just to kind of get back to where you were and not get worse, and you didn't get better, which I don't love with Mac going to his third year. You need to develop him. This is between year, I think, 2, 3, and 4. That's the biggest steps a quarterback will make. You need to capitalize on that, and I haven't seen this offseason. So I'm pessimistic but hopeful. So let me know what you think about it. Is it a complete L of an offseason, the fact they didn't go for DeAndre Hopkins or didn't get one yet? So I don't know. It wasn't a very deep free agency class, but we'll see how it goes. And yeah, I need football to start now. So